It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today is Heidi Rothenhaus, the Environmental Committee Chair for the Annapolis Yacht Club. Heidi, thank you for joining me today.
Hello, Donna. It's my pleasure.
What exactly is the Environmental Committee Chair, and when did all this come about?
Right. Well, Annapolis Yacht Club formed a new environmental committee in the fall of 2018. And we had a committee some years ago, but it had basically sort of dissolved after a year or so. Our current Commodore felt that now was the time for us really to step into making sure that we were doing our part towards the sustainability of Spa Creek as our home waters, the Severn River, and the Chesapeake Bay. So he tapped me as the spouse of a yacht club member to form a committee, identify our mission and goals, and then lead and coordinate the program. And so we've been in place now since August of 2018.
You just said the spouse of a yacht club member, right?
Right, that's right.
You have a formidable background in boating yourself.
Annapolis has a big sailing community, and I'm very pleased to be part of that, both in sail and power, and my little kayaks.
But I don't want to diminish your role, because you told me something before the interview started that I can't quite get over. 25 years ago, 1994, what did you do?
I borrowed my former boyfriend's Peterson 45, a large racing boat, and campaigned it over to Bermuda in the Bermuda Ocean Race. So we had 13 people on board, including myself, and we had a blast. It was a great time. I learned so much, and we all had a good time. We also partnered with a marine electrician in town who organized teenagers to come be part of our effort in preparing the boat, and then they overlapped time with us in Bermuda, and then they sailed the boat back for us.
That's amazing.
It was a great experience.
25 years ago.
25 years
yes.
ago, that's right.
Good for you. And some lives changed from this, yeah?
Yes, I understand that, well, one of the fellows who was a teenager on board that boat has become a marine electrician himself and runs the business now of the fellow who campaigned with us.
Okay, I digressed a little bit, but I think you deserve that. So back to the Environmental Committee. So this happened actually in the wake of a rather large event at the Annapolis Yacht Club.
Right.
Tell me how this lined up in relationship to that.
Well, Annapolitans will remember that in the lead up to the lights parade that Annapolis does every year in December, where boats parade through the harbor with their decorated masts and rigs, the Annapolis Yacht Club burned. So the main clubhouse over on the downtown side of the Eastport Bridge was destroyed. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, everyone got out safely, but it was a terrible event.
And this was related to an artificial tree, right?
Yeah, it was actually the plug on the artificial tree apparently took it down, and that tree was down at the lowest level of the 3 levels of the club, so the fire came right up the staircase and it spread very rapidly. I mean, the blessing was everyone got out.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it was hours before, just a few hours before, we would have had hundreds of people inside to watch the parade of lights.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
So, all in all, but the leadership of the club, both the professional staff and the board, came together very rapidly, made plans, worked with the city to try to expedite the rebuild, and we were very fortunate that the club reopened in that downtown location last fall.
Now, one of the things we talked about before this interview started was your concern was, is this some way of just getting us PR, the Environmental Committee? Or, and that's what you said to the Commodore, right?
Right.
And the Commodore said?
The Commodore said it was not, that this was not an exercise in improving, people's opinion of the Annapolis Yacht Club or anything like that. This was something that we could do ourselves to take responsibility for the sustainability of our home waters and our operations. And it's in part why this interview that I'm doing with you, Donna, is my first contact externally in terms of any media. We're not looking to sort of say, how great we are. There are many clubs and organizations that have gone well before us, and we're taking important steps now. But I think we have a long way to go.
So you're not an advocacy group; you're a boating group. You were formed as a canoe club.
That's right, back in the 1880s. That's right, and our activities at the yacht club are all about boating and making boating programs work for our membership.
What you're saying and what your Commodore has said, paraphrasing, we're stewards of this environment.
That's right. And our goals are very specific in terms of, in the environmental committee's work, to engage members in hands-on environmental activities, number one, to work with club management to support a shift towards better environmental practices in how the club operates with our restaurants. We have a significant dining and event scene, and also how we run regattas and things like that. So to make all of that as environmentally friendly as we can. To also educate our members about what else is out here in the community that they might want to engage in as individuals, whether that's with Severn River Association or Annapolis Green or any one of the wonderful local organizations that lead environmental programs. And then the fourth item as a goal is for the environmental committee and our volunteers to engage with local organizations for events that we think that the club would want to partner in. So, for example, we've participated in the Spat Creek Conservancy's Kids on the Creek event this year, where we brought volunteer boat captains and mates to come give kids rides up and down the creek and talk about environmental cleanup around our area.
That's awesome. We're going to hear some more of what the Environmental Committee from the Annapolis Yacht Club has been doing. We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me is Heidi Rothenhaus, Annapolis Yacht Club's Environmental Committee Chair. Tell us more about what the Environmental Committee is doing. You gave me a brief sort of summary of what's been going on, but Spat, you're doing some amazing work with Spat that I did not realize. Explain that. First, what is Spat for those that are... Yeah.
Right. Well, Spat is baby oysters before they have gotten to the stage where they form shell, hardened shell. And Annapolis Yacht Club has, for more than 8 years now, been what's called a distributor of Spat to other organizations. So we participate in the Marylanders Grow Oysters program, called MGO, where the state has laid out, through Department of Natural Resources, a way of working with local environmental organizations to help get sanctuary oyster reefs placed around the bay for the purposes of filtering water and cleaning. One adult oyster is able to filter more than 20 gallons of water. And so more than 8 years ago, AYC, Annapolis Yacht Club, became a distributor. So we take Spat that comes from the Horn Point Laboratory on the eastern shore, comes over onto large pallets, it's placed in the creek, and then our team helps divide it up and distribute it among lots of local marinas.
You're the largest
condos.
Distributor of Spat?
I understand from SRA that we are. Largest for the Severn River Association. So we've grown, in addition to acting as a distributor for locations on Back Creek, Spa Creek, and also up to Weems Creek, we also have been growing oysters in cages at our docks at the yacht club. And then
how many cages do you have?
We have 138 cages.
Wow.
Yeah, and they all need to be cared for, dunked and cleaned and things like that.
Are they taking up boat space, or are they?
No.
Okay.
No, they're, it's really easy to grow oysters. I've done it myself at our home, and we have taught members. We've ran a seminar this spring so that people could come learn about it. We had an SRA representative come as a speaker, and then we gave a demonstration of how you, what's called teabag, the oyster cages. So you dunk them up and down to get the silt off, and do that on a regular basis to help keep their filtration going well. So we also have another 226 cages worth out with private growers.
Wow.
Now, unfortunately, this year,
The lower bay had a salinity problem.
Yes, but it also extended up pretty far. And so the Choptank River, where the Horn Point Laboratory gets its water, apparently had some difficulties with salinity. And they're still looking at, are there other factors? But they were unable to produce the Spat this year. So it's a moratorium year, suspended. But we're geared up. We're planning to engage with the Horn Point Lab again in the springtime, and through the Severn River Association be very active again next year.
Right.
It's really a pleasure to get to the time where the oysters are gathered up in May or June and taken out to the reefs. And then, you can see, if you drive over that Route 50 bridge and look down into the water, you can see the clearing over those reefs. I mean,
I was actually out there when they were putting some of the oysters out,
wonderful.
so that's interesting you say that. I don't know that. Yeah. It's cool to watch. So again, this is Marylanders Grow Oysters. You want information on it, just Google that. You'll find out more information on it. That's
right. So that's been an activity for us. Another is that we've run creek cleanups at the yacht club. We, as a new committee, we wanted to really focus making sure that we were getting our own house in order, if you will.
And their own house being Spa Creek.
Spa Creek, that's right, on both sides of the bridge now, because we have the sailing center and activity center over on the Eastport side. And then downtown we have the old clubhouse since rebuilt. So what we've done is, with these cleanups, we did one in April and one last weekend, and we've had 35 or 40 volunteers of all ages.
One in April and one in November.
Okay. That's right. And we've had water-based teams as well as land-based. We take out dinghies and assign the teams to clean up our own properties, but also the streets right around our properties.
All right, we're going to take another break real quick, but we're going to come back and talk about a beach right up north of St. Mary's, which I did not know something that happens on this beach. We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me is Heidi Rothenhaus. She's the Annapolis Yacht Club Environmental Committee Chair. She's talking about creek cleanups and getting Spa Creek in order, making sure the Yacht Club is one of the stewards of Spa Creek. Tell me what goes on that beach at St. Mary's, because I did not know this.
Well, it's an interesting little natural area. So it's right upwards of the bridge. And it's a shallow area at most times of the year, but in some times when the water levels are low, either because of tides or the wind blowing the water out of the bay, the mud banks are exposed. And you'll see in the springtime the horseshoe crabs come up there, sometimes hundreds at a time.
I had no idea.
It's a fascinating sight. And this past November cleanup, we went to that little beach in order to pull out debris that had washed down from the roads, which is what we usually find in terms of items in our cleanups.
So what some of those items?
We found traffic cones over there that had clearly been submerged for a long time, and we were able to get them dug up with the crab nets that we had and things like that. But we also got sneakers, shoes, cans, bottles. So, we take that stuff and then divide it into, can we reuse it? We had a team go ahead and scrub up the cones, and we could use those. And the other things we divided into recycling and trash. It's a small thing, but it engages members. We had 9 kids out of the 40 volunteers that we had in the November cleanup, for example. I think it's a great way of engaging members in taking responsibility for our own stuff, if you will. We've participated in the Bay Stewardship Workshop with all the environmental organizations. We've done that 2 years now. And then that Kids on the Creek and Spa Creek Conservancy.
And you have educational get-togethers at the club?
Well, we don't have a lecture series, but where it fits, we have had lectures or talks. But really, we're about hands-on things as much as possible. We did do a fun video that we put on our club's Facebook page just to help educate members about environmentally friendly features of the yacht club's buildings and practices. I mean, members don't think about it probably, but the number one that I see is we use like real china plates and forks, and we wash them all. We try to really minimize the disposables, and our restaurants are cooking to order. We try never to have loads of extra food and that kind of thing. So really in the basics of the club operation, it tries to be low waste. But in rebuilding and in building new facilities, we've added filtered water refill stations for everybody's water bottles so that we've been able to get largely away from all the plastic bottles. We are recycling our cooking oils and our cardboard and all that kind of stuff. We have, in our lighting for the new facilities, we've used what's called dark skies compliant lighting. It's bird-friendly lighting, so that light is cast only downward,
Well, you
doesn't
just
light
said the
upward.
magic words to me, bird-friendly lighting. How about the windows also, or no?
Maybe all windows are a strike problem for
Yeah.
birds. But yeah, the architects of the building tried to make that as environmentally friendly for the wildlife as possible. And then we also, featured things like the parking places in our lot that sits near Spa Creek are pervious parking places, both at the sailing center and our activity center now. So, there's things like that where we've taken steps forward, certainly with the natural landscaping that's in place now in the natives.
Well, who knew? I mean, who knew all this was going on? It's a cool side to Annapolis Yacht Club I did not know, and I'm really glad that you're doing it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been great. We've been able to spill over into the kids' programming as well. So this summer, we had more than 500 children come through the kids' camps, the sailing camps at the yacht club. And we implemented a few modules for them that were specifically tied to environmental practices on the creek. So one was about what's in the water, about marine debris. So they had the chance to go ahead and find things and then scout it out and sort it and learn where is it from, why is it happening, and that kind of thing. They also did a little bit of a science project with the sediment in the water. So they did water testing for water quality and clarity and whatnot. So those kinds of things, I think, are, to my mind, a great way of helping to engage the young population of Annapolis and teaching them that this is important to us and we want it to be important to them.
Absolutely. They're the next stewards, yeah.
Right. We actually have an event coming in a couple of weeks where we're going to make eco-friendly tree decorations. We're getting live trees that we can plant after the season this year, so that we have some extra space to plant more trees over on the Eastport side. And we're going to make decorations that are eco-friendly.
What do you see as down the road for your committee?
Right.
You must have some idea. I can tell you're an idea lady. So what's next?
We have a very active core committee, and then fortunately we have more than 140 members who have volunteered at the club for these activities. They want to be part of the environmental program. I'm so heartened by that. I mean, 140 is really impressive in 1 year. So the kinds of things we're going to do are, now that the club's staff has been able to settle in a little bit to our new buildings, we have a chance to really move forward on club operations. So we're looking at how we can possibly implement composting on a regular basis. The whole recycling picture is a shifting one, and we want to be sure that we're really moving forward. We also have events like the oysters that we want to take to the next level. We've been recycling oysters from our own events, as part of a dining operation, oyster shell,
right,
if you will. But we want to take that to the next level also. And then I think we're ready this next year to help showcase more of the local environmental organizations so that our members are more aware of who's out there and how they can participate as individuals if they choose to.
Thank you for joining me today, Heidi.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will see you next week.